Well, good evening. My name is Ryan Maxted, and I'm the branch manager at Bank of the West in Huron. And I was invited by the staff here at the library to talk a little bit about fraud and scams. And I have a guest with me tonight. I have Graham Smith with me, and he's agreed to share with us a little bit about his story with fraud and something that happened in his life. So, Graham, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind coming stand up beside me.
Sure.
And I want to we're going to do sort of a question and answer, an interview kind of a style. And we'll have Graham tell you a little bit of his story and what happened to give you a feel kind of for what's going on. So, Graham, give us a little bit of a touch of an idea of what happened. How did the situation that you faced start?
I received a phone call at home, and almost before I had the phone picked up, this guy was talking, and he said that he'd been in an accident and he had cut his lip, and so his speech was slurred, and he had an accident, hit a lady from behind. She was pregnant. He didn't know whether she lost a child. The story just kept, and then he said he got a DWI because he had too much to drink, and that he was being held and wanted to get. I think he told me the amount, but that doesn't mean he wanted $7,500 from me because he needed that for bail. And the key thing that I think is that he was talking fast and commanding the conversation, not allowing me to get a word in edgewise, kind of, but almost literally. And this is the way the scammers, this is one of their, I think, their way, what's the word?
Yeah, that they manipulate us or trick us, for sure.
Right.
So a question that I have for you then, Graham, is who was on the other side? Or how did you come to know or believe who you thought was on the phone?
Okay. And he never did say who he was, but I just assumed it was my brother-in-law. And it turns out that he lives in Tennessee, as far as I know, haven't had any contact for 5 years. And so when he said that he was in Rochester, Minnesota, and again, I was thinking, and I made the mistake of using his name. I said, "Is this you, Steve?" And right away, he was Steve. You know, I could have said Joe or Pete but one of the key things that he said was, A, I'm embarrassed. B, don't tell anybody. I'm really embarrassed. Don't tell anybody. And thinking back, I should have asked him, do you want me to tell your wife? That was the key question that I overlooked, because my sister's been gone for years. And so I would have known right away if, anyway, he wanted me to call his lawyer, and then I somehow talked to another guy, and every one of these phone numbers, I looked on the caller ID. He was going through Hollywood, Florida. The lawyer was Georgia, and sidekick was Arizona. And the guy in Arizona, I did talk to him, and he said something about referring to the fellow as a young man, or whatever. I said, "Sir, if you're saying that somebody's 80 years old is young," and right away I should have picked up on that, but I didn't. Of course, he glanced over it. Anyway, they didn't want a credit card. They didn't want a check. And I never really did figure out exactly how, but they wanted the money somehow wired direct. I had to have the cash in my hand. Then they were going to tell me what to do with it. And my wife helped me, and I got a hold of my nephew, and we tried in earnest to see if there was an accident like this in Rochester that afternoon. And they were dumbfounded because they didn't have no accidents, no people like my brother-in-law. And he, each time he called, because he called several times, because I was supposed to call his lawyer, and I tried, she didn't answer. She answered me once, and I couldn't hear her, and she just wouldn't answer again. But I don't know, he was saying that, you gotta get me out of here, they're calling me a baby killer. He was just adding fuel to the fire to make it sound like I needed to help him get out of his predicament.
Okay, so what ultimately transpired? Did you send the money or what?
We eventually talked to this lawyer that he wanted us to, and Colleen talked to her because I was talking to somebody else, I think. Anyway, Colleen kept asking, well, where are you? What are you doing in Rochester? And she evaded the question, and she said she basically didn't want to talk to Colleen, but she did make it clear. Once you have the money in your hand, then you call me, and then I'll tell you what to do. And we never heard from her again, because of course we didn't call her. And but the key thing is that they control the conversation, they control urgency, and you're just supposed to play along.
So you did some research and some due diligence. You found out as best as you could. The information that they're giving you is not accurate.
Right.
And I'm assuming that you did not send any money.
That is correct.
Okay. And at that point, did you hear from them after that?
No.
Not another word. Not another.
I thought it was interesting too that they didn't want to check because that takes 3 days to clear. Didn't want credit card because that takes 3 days to clear, but they wanted cash. And he also used the term, he kept using the term, it's refundable or something. And any bail money that I've ever heard about is not refundable. But anyway, the only thing that I would like to impress upon you is that ask lots of questions and think of some questions that you can ask the person that they're not going to know. You know, Ryan and I could share. There was excuse me. The common thing is your nephew is in jail and needs money. Well, you got to think of questions to ask the person. Like this, like he told me, nephew had been somehow his face got messed up. He's in the hospital. He can't talk. Fine. Start asking some questions that the person isn't going to know, and then you'll be able to tell if it's for real or not.
That's good. Thank you, Grant. I appreciate you sharing your story. It's not easy to talk about these things and to admit that we've been involved or had someone attempt to defraud us, and it's even more difficult if it's successful. If money is sent and money's gone, the shame surrounding that. And I want to talk a little bit about that to this afternoon or this evening as well. I want to tell just a couple of other sort of true to life stories, just very briefly. It wasn't long ago that we had a customer who was waiting at the bank literally for the doors to open. She'd been there for quite some time and she could not wait to get into the bank fast enough. And as soon as we opened and let her in, she came and she sat down and she immediately began to confess, I've made a terrible mistake. And she had gotten a phone call over the weekend from someone claiming to be Amazon customer service. And they had mentioned that Amazon had a breach in their security systems and in their online databases, and that her accounts had been compromised, but that they could correct them if they helped her move some money and transact some money. They could make sure that her account was safe and secure. And she happened to have an Amazon account and was frightened by the fact that she could have lost money through this breach that Amazon had. So she started the process of going along with her. The person on the other end of the phone actually asked her to install an app on her phone. Not that, and he said, this is not an app that I can control your phone. I'm not going to do anything, but it will help me to see what you're doing so that I can ensure that you're taking the correct steps. So it was just, these are kind of apps that you can get for your computers or for anything. A lot of time technical support companies use these kind of apps so that they can see what's going on your computer or whatever and make the changes for you. So she allowed this person to he gave her the app to install. She installed it on her phone and gave him access. And all he did was watch and give direction and things like that. So he had her move money from, he could see then she logged into her online banking, and he had her transfer money from one bank account to another, a bank account that happened to be owned by her daughter. She was on it as well, but transferred money from that account to her own account. And then he had her send 3 person-to-person transfers of varying amounts. He gave her a phone number, and we can talk a little bit about this, but a person-to-person transfer uses a program. You might have heard of Venmo or Pop Money or sometimes Facebook Pay. There's a variety of these different kinds of Zelle. There's a variety of these different apps out there that send money from person to person, and usually almost instantly. And so he had her send 3 different transfers, all under this guise of, this is going to secure your account. This is going to make sure that your money is safe. And she sent 3 transfers, and it was after that when he said, now we need you to go to your local Dollar General store or local grocery store, Walmart, and buy some gift cards. And we're going to need you to give us those gift cards. And at that point, she realized, why does Amazon, what do they need these gift cards for? This makes no sense. She hung up the phone. But that had happened on a Saturday. And so she was there first thing on a Monday morning. And the hard part is as we begin to look into this, those transactions did go through that she initiated on her end through her bank account, and we were unable to stop those or to recover those funds. And she ended up losing about $1,500 through that. And the hard part is she felt extremely embarrassed, extremely ashamed, and she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want her husband to know about it. She didn't want her daughter to know about it, because she was unfortunately a willing participant. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and explore what we can do to help safeguard ourselves, our families, and our loved ones against this kind of activity, because it does happen. This lady who was defrauded is a nurse. She is an intelligent individual who works very hard for the money that she has. She is not gullible. She is not susceptible to normal things that we might say would fool somebody. Not at all. And even says, I feel like I'm street smart. I feel like I have a good sense of what's going on. And yet she got surprised. She got scammed and defrauded. And it's a violent thing. It's a traumatic thing, and it's very, very hard. And there's a lot of shame that can surround that. So I do want to talk a little bit about how these work, and I have a little handout here too. I know that those of you who are online can't see this, but
I have a digital copy.
Okay.
If they can pick the link, it'll be in the chat.
So there's a lot of blank space on here, because I wanted you to have an opportunity to write down your own notes and what is, oh, I didn't even have the mic on. What is meaningful or relevant to you? I wanted you to have an opportunity to write that down for yourself, but there's a couple of things that I want to highlight as we go through it. So how do these scams work? That's what I want to talk about, is the second thing that I want to talk about tonight. And I want to again thank Graham for helping us with real life examples. It used to be, in a sense, that if you left your checks, sitting on the dashboard of your truck, that was about as susceptible to scams. Somebody stealing those checks, your checkbook, forging your signature, and taking it to the bank and trying to spend the money before you could get to the bank and put a stop payment on those checks. And then it changed to with debit cards and credit cards. It changed to trying to steal your card number, and somebody would try to do unauthorized transactions before you realized that your card number had been compromised. Online banking has done a lot to helping to really solve some of those problems, but then it's also opened up a whole nother set of opportunities for scams and frauds, as we talked about with our customer who made these transfers through her own online banking or mobile banking account. So I want to just give you, what I don't want to do is give you a whole bunch of facts and stuff, but I want to give you enough information to really, you begin to dive into this and look into this on your own. So are you aware, I know Graham is, but are any of you aware of someone else who has been a part of a scam or been defrauded, or maybe even yourself had one of those phone calls that kind of made you think about what's going on? The top 10 scams are employment scams, a promise of employment, and all you have to do is send us $500 and we'll send you the information. That's a very common kind of a scam, especially amongst college-age kids and younger people. Cryptocurrency, you're probably hearing a little bit more about Bitcoin and all of these kinds of things. Lots of scams surrounding that. Online purchases, depositing checks or money orders. We'll give you this money if you'll help someone else or send it on. We've got these checks that we need to deposit, and the checks turn out to be fraudulent. That's still a common thing, but these checks are very, very good fakes. They look almost all of the time, they look exactly like the real thing. These fraudsters have gotten a hold of what an actual cashier's check from one of your banks looks like, and using computer software have attempted to duplicate it. And oftentimes they're very, very good fakes, if I can say it that way. Like a payday loan or an advance loan, if you're short on cash, we can help you get some money quick. And they promise you that if you sign up for this program, they'll advance money into your account and they'll help you to have that. And of course, there's usually an upfront fee or something. You just need to send this money and then you'll have that. Well, of course, the loan never comes. A romance loan, also kind of a common thing. Hey, I saw your profile online. I saw your profile. You look like a handsome individual, a very pretty lady. I'd like to get to know you better. And I can tell you some of these romance scams go on for quite a while before money ever comes in to the picture. And that helps to create this sort of false sense of trust, this false sense of, well, I know this person. I've been talking to them online for months. So yeah, now she needs a little help or he needs a little help, so I need to send him some money. Okay, couple more that are very common. An investment scam, some sort of a tech support scam. Your computer has a virus, we're gonna help you fix it. And what they do is essentially they log in, they take over, and then it's like holding your computer hostage. We won't give you your computer back unless you pay the ransom, unless you pay that. So that kind of thing is more and more common. And then a travel, timeshare, vacation, variations of these kinds of scams are very common and very popular. So the scariest, though, and most effective types of scams are committed through what I'm going to call social engineering. And social engineering, where there's some sort of crisis or emotional input or something going on where a human being is manipulated and tricked into participating in the scam. And Graham is example of one of those attempts, social engineering attempt. If we had a door someplace here in the library or maybe at a bank, and that door needed to be closed all the time, but somebody stuck a sign on the door that said, please leave this door open, scribbled a signature on the bottom that was unintelligible, and then put human resources or manager or somebody like that on the bottom. If they created it on what looked like letterhead for your business. And with the internet, all of the websites have corporate letterheads on them. It's not hard to spoof corporate logos and corporate letterheads. And if we put a sign on the door that said, leave this door open, how many people would leave the door open even though that door is supposed to be closed? We are taught to participate. We're taught to follow the rules. We're taught to go along. We're taught to be helpful. We're taught to be kind and caring. And so when we have these situations come along, it's our natural instinct to help and to play. And so, and then when we found out we've been taken advantage of, we've been tricked, we've been hurt, then shame surrounds that. So I want to give you some statistics just really quick. And I want you to think for a moment, which age group, and I put some age groups on your piece of paper there. Which age group do you think is the most susceptible to fraud? And by susceptible, I mean just literally likely to either have a fraud occurrence in their life or have someone attempt to defraud them. Okay, whether it's successful or not. Which group do you think is the most susceptible to fraud? Now, you might think over the age of 65. All right, let me give you the statistics. And I gave this to you because I want you to write it down. Okay, 18 to 24-year-olds, 45% of them are susceptible to fraud, have been involved in fraud, have had a fraud attempt on them, or have a habits or lifestyle that would actually leave them susceptible to fraud. Okay, 45%. Ages 25 to 34, 44%. Almost half. 35 to 44-year-olds, 44%. Wait, the numbers aren't getting smaller, are they? How about 45 to 54-year-olds? 36%. Over the age of 65, this is the one that we might think or assume, 23%. That's actually the least amount. What does that tell us? That tells us that hopefully as we're getting a little older, we're getting a little wiser. We're least susceptible to fraud as we get older. 23% of those over the age of 65 susceptible to fraud. However, let's turn it on its head. I also said, what's the average amount lost? So let's go back and I want you to write those numbers down. 18 to 24-year-olds, if they are scammed or defrauded, anybody want to guess?
A lot of money, so not very high.
Don't have a lot of money, so not very high. Probably not wrong. They're college students and they're broke. Average amount lost for an 18 to 24-year-old, $100. 25 to 34-year-olds, $111. 35 to 45 or 35 to 44-year-olds, $140. So as we get older, we're starting to see, even though they have sort of equal susceptibility to fraud, the numbers creeping up. 45 to 54-year-olds, $136. So slightly less than the age group just younger than them. 55 to 64, $198. Anybody want to take a guess over the age of 65? 10,000 is a huge number. The average, 350. So while our senior citizens are less susceptible to this, when they are involved in a scam or fraud, the loss that they take on average is 3 times as much as what some of the other age groups, the youngest age group would be in that example. And part of that is why? Why do you think that is? We said our college students are broke, so they don't have as much money to lose. Our seniors who are at retirement age or whatever tend to have more money. It's logical that they would potentially lose more as well. Okay? So investment scams cost senior citizens about $15,000 on average, compared to $2,500 for other age groups. So somewhere between 70 and 95% of all cybercrime, fraud, theft, all of this stuff that we're talking about, somewhere between 70 and 95% is facilitated through the mistake or the manipulation of a human being. The biggest fraud losses that occur are the ones that have a human actually involved, not the scammer, but a second person, the person who owns the funds, the person who answered the phone, the person who clicked on the text message, the person who clicked on the website, the link in the email address is involved. So how can we avoid these scams and protect loved ones? For me, the number one thing, and this is what, if you don't take anything else away from tonight, I would want you to take this away. Remove the shame factor. Have a conversation with everyone in your family. Sometimes with our teenage children, we might have as parents, we might have a conversation where it says, we don't care where you are. We don't care what's going on. If you're uncomfortable, if you're in danger, no questions asked, mom and dad will do what? We will come and pick you up. You don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be embarrassed. It's not going to be an interrogation. If you have those kinds of conversations up front with your teenager, they're much more likely to say, okay, well, I'm in a bad spot here. I didn't quite see this coming. Mom and dad can come get me. If we do that with fraud and scams and those kinds of situations with all of our family members, and let's be honest, it doesn't have to be just our seniors. They are the least susceptible to fraud, statistically, but they also lose the most. But if we have this conversation with our children and our grandchildren and all across the age of our family and say, listen, if you get a phone call and you're not sure what to do, we want you to know you can come and you can talk to us at any time. We're not going to shame you. We're not going to talk down to you. We're not going to belittle you. We want to help you. And the reason is, more people involved, the better. The less likely this is to be successful. Okay? So one of the things that we sometimes do is we use the wrong language for those who have been victims of fraud. How might we talk about, and I want you to think for a moment, someone who is a victim of fraud and someone who's a victim of some other violent crime. How might we describe them differently? We might say, well, they were duped as the victim of fraud. Another person who was robbed would say, oh, they were held at gunpoint. You see the difference? One is very shame-based, they were duped. Another one is from outside of themselves. Oh, they fell for it. But a victim of a violent crime, we might say they were viciously assaulted. We might say that a victim of fraud, well, they got taken. They got scammed, they got suckered. But a victim of a violent crime, we might say they were brutally, they were forcibly, it was against their will, it was violent. We would use those kinds of words. So the words that we use for a violent crime are very different sometimes than the words we use for a fraud or someone who's been a victim of that. And I want you to begin that conversation. How can we make sure that we're not using shame-based language as we're talking about this and perpetuating this? Because what Graham said in his experience is absolutely true. One of the tactics that they use, don't tell anybody, this is a secret. I'm embarrassed, and I want you to be embarrassed for me. Because they realize that the more people involved, the less likely they're going to be successful at carrying this out. So the first thing that I want you to do is to have conversations with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. Remove the shame. If there's ever a time, talk to us. Okay? Another thing that you can do is educate yourself. And I put some websites on there. These are all websites that you can go to usa.gov. Okay, that's a government website that talks about common scams and frauds. If you type those email or those addresses right into your web browser, it'll take you right to those sites. Okay. The second one is American Banking Association, and they have advocacy and community programs on there. So some of those are links where you could essentially schedule to have a banker come in and do something like I'm doing, some sort of a fraud presentation. But at the same time, there's others there that you can look at, and there's some educational stuff. My personal favorite is the last one. BBB stands for the Better Business Bureau. So betterbusinessbureau.org. And if you go to their all and then scam tips, if you type that in, you're going to get a whole bunch. And my favorite part is they talk about individually each of the different types of scams that are out there, whether it's an education scam, a check scam, a wire transfer scam, somebody's injured, hospital, that kind of scam, whatever. All of those different things are out there. So if you want to protect yourself, start learning about the tactics that are being used. Have conversations with your family, remove the shame, remove the fear, and start educating yourself, okay? So some other common sense principles. Are there any questions or any comments at this point before I keep going? All right, so a couple of common sense principles that I want to talk about is just the simple free money, or is it too good to be true? If someone's offering you something and it's free money, hey, you want to make it easy, $500? All you got to do is deposit this money, send some of it to this sweet grandma who's got to have surgery but doesn't have the money, and we're helping her out. So we're going to give the money to you. You send the money to this person in another state who's having surgery, and you can keep the $500 for yourself. Well, and I'm probably a terrible scam artist, so you're all looking at me like, well, who would fall for that? But that kind of scam is what people fall for every day. So if there's free money, if there appears to be free money and it's too good to be true, guess what? It's probably too good to be true. So be aware of that. One of the type of particular scams is what we call an overpayment scam. So you're looking to buy something online and somebody says, oh, or sell something online. Oh yeah, I'll buy that from you, but I only have this check for $2,000. Maybe you're selling this item for $1,800, but they want to send you $2,000, and then you keep the extra. These overpayment type scams where we're going to send you some money, you send some of it back, but you can keep the extra. Those are, I have yet to find one of those where it's legit. Who sends extra money? Only the people who don't care that you keep money that's not real money. So overpayment scams are very common. Money that's too effective, or money that is too easy to get, easy come, is money that you don't want to have. It's money that you don't want to be involved with. Another thing that you can do is, and Graham kind of alluded to this, as you're involved in if you find yourself involved in a conversation with a potential fraudster, start thinking to yourself, try and develop a level head, and getting other people involved will help. Graham got his wife involved, and she helped to research this as well. There were other conversations that took place, and they begin to dissect what was being shared. First question that I sometimes ask my customers is, who started this conversation? I have customers who when they call me at the bank and I ask to verify them, well, they say, oh, I don't give that information out over the phone. Okay, well, you're asking me, you started this. You called me, I didn't call you. And I think that is it's just a simple gate, not foolproof, but it's a simple gate that can help you. If you initiated a conversation, if you called Amazon customer service and they're asking to verify you over the phone, it's probably a much safer bet. It's probably much more likely this is a legitimate transaction because you started the conversation. But like this customer that was unfortunately defrauded, Amazon customer service, someone pretending to be Amazon customer service called her. Your account's been compromised. Fear not, I'm here to help. Well, unfortunately, it was not there to help. So who started the conversation? Okay, sharing information and getting other people involved is a huge help. Don't keep the secret when they want it to be a secret. I've had them say, whatever you do, don't call the police. Well, good. I'm going to call you right back right after I call the police. Say that and see what happens. I mean, try and have some of these common sense scenarios where you think about what's being shared. Okay. A lot of times when they call, when a scammer calls, they're going to use general terminology to try and get you to give information. So they'll answer, is the missus there? Is the lady of the house there? Grandma or grandpa, is that you? Or, hey, this is your grandson. Or, hey, this is your brother. Hey, this is your nephew or niece or whatever. And they're trying to get you to say it. And Graham's example is a great one. Oh, is that you, Johnny? Yeah, it's me, Johnny. Now we think we're talking to Johnny, and it's easy to not question that once we've determined in our mind, oh, I know who this is. It's Johnny. How did you come to that conclusion that it's Johnny? Did you tell them it was Johnny, or did they tell you? And find other ways to verify, okay? Another one is don't respond to text messages, okay? We get text messages all the time. We get text messages to verify when you're logging into a website. Sometimes they have what they call two-part authentication. So if I'm getting ready to log into an Amazon account, they might want me to verify by sending a text message to my phone. Again, here's a conversation. Essentially, it's a digital conversation, but I started it. I'm trying to log into my account. They're wanting to verify me by my phone number that's on file. So they send me a text, I get a text message, and then I have to enter in this code to validate me. But if I'm just getting this text message out of the blue, hey, we've got your refund, click here to claim your refund, and it claims to be from Amazon or customer service or some company that you do business with, you click on that link, there's susceptibility there, there's care there. So don't respond to unsolicited text messages that you're not actively involved in some sort of a transaction for. Don't respond to emails with links in them. And again, this is another way that companies will verify your information. We need to verify who you are. So if you're trying to contact Amazon customer service and you forgot your password and they want to send you a link in an email to reset it, okay. I started this conversation and I'm trying to get into my Amazon account. But if that email comes out of the blue, click here to reset your password. Be careful. Be careful. Okay? Be careful about what you put on social media. We all have varying lives that are various amounts of social media dependent. And I mean, and that social media is not age specific. I've seen all ages who are involved in social media. But one of the things that's out there that can be really fun, and I don't know if you've seen this, but you see these get to know me kind of questionnaires, you know, what's your favorite color? Blue. What's your dog's name? Yoshi. What's the middle name of your oldest child? You know, and you start, it's fun and you think your friends are seeing this and you put all this information in there. But how many times are some of those the answers to some of those secret passcodes? When we forgot your password, we're going to verify what was your elementary school called. And if you're putting that out there in public on social media, fraudsters can take that off of the public page, which you willingly gave the answers to, thinking it was fun, and they can attempt to hack into your accounts using those answers. So be careful what you put out on social media. Be careful what personal information you share. Okay? If you get a call or an email or a text from Amazon or your telephone company or your media, your cable company or your credit card, that your account has been compromised, we need you to contact us immediately. Do not use the number in the email. Do not use the link in the email. Call them back on other published numbers. Your credit card is an easy one. Turn it over. There is always a phone number on the back of your credit card. Do not use the number that they put in the email or in the text message. If your Bank of the West credit card, you get this text that says it's been compromised, call Bank of the West, call your bank, use the number on the back of the card, look for it online, do a search for Bank of the West and find a published, known customer service number. Find Amazon's customer service number and use that number to call them and verify. Because what happens then is you're using a number that you know to be a correct number, that you know you're going to get Amazon, and then you can ask, has my account been compromised? No, it is not. No, it is not. Okay?
Well, it might be if they're calling you that, right?
Well, it might be. It might be. Yeah, yes, it has been. Thank you for calling us. But even then, you're going to get where you need to go if you're using the published number. You don't have to click on the link. You don't have to respond to the text. Absolutely. Okay?
The one I get the most is there's a lawsuit against your student loan company. They're doing payouts to all borrowers.
There's been a lawsuit. Yeah, you're doing yeah, your loan company is being sued and there's payouts to all borrowers. If you want your money, here again, money that's easy come, really easy, it's free money. All you gotta do is click here. Well, guess what? If you clicked on that, there'd probably be a small fee to collect your money. And I hate to say it, but let's be honest, one of the things that the scammers are going to do is they're going to share your information. If you click on that, scammer A goes, hey guys, we got them to click. You try. And that information gets disseminated out. They're going to share that. And then one attempt leads to more and more and more and more and more. So absolutely. Another one is a fear tactic that this is the IRS. And you owe us taxes, and we're going to put a freeze on your account, and we're sending the police to arrest you if you don't pay right now.
Well, if you put your number on the do not call list, where does that go? That doesn't go to these people. It goes to
all the honest companies in the world. The do not call list, if you've got your name on that, it goes to all the honest companies in the world who are following the law. You're right. I'm guessing the scammers are not consulting the do not call list before they try to scam you out of money. That's a great question. Okay. If you get a phone call that someone is in the hospital, someone is sick, someone is in legal trouble, we need bail money, we need money for a hospital bill, we need this or we need that, call someone else who knows them, call someone else in that town. Is Johnny in the hospital? Was Johnny in an accident? Try to verify the information that you're being given. We had a similar situation, not Graham's situation, a similar situation in a bank where a customer came in and it was amazing because as the longer the conversation went on, the smaller the dollar amount got. The first they needed $100,000 to help pay for medical bills. And then it dropped down to, well, we need $50,000 to help I don't even know what the next thing was. And then it was $18,000 for bail money. And so because the number was going down, the customer felt more and more, okay, well, it's not $100,000, it's only $18,000. But they were sure that it was their grandson who was in danger and in the hospital. And I said, call your grandson. And they looked at me with a shocked look on their face. They said, well, I can't, he's in the hospital, I just talked to him. And with as polite as I could be, I said, I am 99.9% certain you are not speaking with your grandson. Call him using the number that you have for him in your phone. So they called him, he didn't answer. And I said, give it a little time, come back and see me. They weren't gone in half an hour. Guess what? The grandson called back, he's just fine. So try to verify the information that's being shared, this sense of urgency, okay? Next thing is put some safeguards in place. And here's where, continuing to have conversations, getting other people involved. If you see a transaction on your statement, if you see a transaction on your online banking or your debit card, ask your bank for help. They're there to help you. Say, I don't know what this is. Can you help me figure this out? If your accounts have been compromised, they will help you potentially get your money back. In many situations, we can get your money back if you've been scammed or defrauded or had your account information stolen. But ask your bank for help. Don't buy into the keep it a secret sort of a story. Get help immediately. If you get a phone call, and even if you don't do anything, call your bank. Tell your bank what happened. let them listen and hear what they say, and they can help you determine whether or not you've shared information that could compromise your accounts and your funds, okay? Use credit cards instead of debit cards if possible. Now, I know many of us are very credit averse. We want to be very careful with credit, and I would agree with that. The difference between a credit card and a debit card, if you're scammed, is if your credit card is compromised, it's the bank's money that got lost. If your debit card is compromised, it's your personal money out of your account. And in a case like this, many times the banks will refund that. We have guarantees that if your account is compromised or scammed or defrauded, we will replace that money for you. But it takes time. It's not an instantaneous thing. You have to file claims, there's a process, and whatever money was potentially lost is gone until it gets replaced. So in that way, a credit card is safer because it's not your money that's being lost in that case, it's the bank's money that's being lost. So that's something to consider as well. Another thing is watch for family members. Watch for each other. If you have trusted family members that you're willing to allow, perhaps review your account transactions once in a while, or have family members that are just safe, that will remove the shame factor. Say, I had a weird call. Can I talk to you about it? We're never going to shame. We're never going to say negative. We're never going to use negative language. We're just going to talk through it and help you to make sure that your accounts stay safe and your funds stay where they belong, and that's with you. Okay. Another one that's heartbreaking is be aware of family members that are a little too helpful. I've had some situations where you have grandchildren who really, really love to help grandma and grandpa run errands and go to the store and do things like that. And yet money goes out of an ATM that grandpa or grandma doesn't remember going to the ATM for. Well, the grandson or the granddaughter has helped them enough. Trusting family members, we've given, hey, would you go to the store for me? Would you do this? We give our debit cards and we share our PIN numbers. And the next thing we know, there's money that's gone. Those are the toughest situations to deal with because the perpetrator or the fraudster in that case is the loved one, the person that we love and care about. So there's a balance there. We need to have trusted people in our lives who can help us with this, but we also need to verify at the same time too. Monitor what's going on in our accounts. Okay, and I think the other number one thing that I would just share, other than the shame factor, removing the shame and getting straight smart, is slow things down. One of the things that these fraudsters will do over and over and over again is we're in a hurry. You have to do this now. There's no time to waste. Tomorrow is too late. The bail money is only good today. The discount is only good today. The investment is only good today. The job is only available today. If you don't do this now, you'll miss out. And none of us wants to miss out. So there's a sense of urgency. There's this sense of speed built in, as Graham shared as well. He said, checks take too long. We got to find ways to get this money, and we got to get it quickly. You're going to need to do this fast if you really want to be able to help. Slow the process down. If there truly is an emergency, if there truly is a crisis, it's probably going to be there tomorrow, and you're going to have time to think it through, to get help, and to deal with it appropriately. Okay, it's a scary topic, but with a little bit of help, a little bit of education, working together, and educating ourselves, we can help avoid these kinds of things. If you get a phone call from the tax company, somebody claiming to be the IRS, first of all, the IRS loves to send letters. And if you try to call them, it takes a long time to talk to a real person. So they're not making a lot of outbound phone calls, I promise you that. But we had a situation where what they do is they'll just dial random landlines, and then they use an auto dialer system. So this computer will dial 20 numbers all at the same time, and the person that they talk to is the one who picks up first. So if somebody's calling your landline, don't be afraid to let it ring 4 times before you answer it. If it's one of these scammer deals, let somebody else pick it up first, okay? So let your phone ring 4 times. Let it, it's okay. If it goes to voicemail, if it's a real issue, don't leave a message. That's okay. But we had one where because they're just randomly dialing, they randomly dial extensions at the bank. And so we'll have one phone ringing, and it's like, Don't even bother to answer it. It's a scam. It's an auto dialer, and they're just dialing the landline that's attached to that phone. One day we was just particularly quiet right at the end of the day, and I knew that's what it was. I picked up the phone and I thought, gonna see how this goes. The person on the other end, it was your IRS due bill is past due. We need you to make a payment on this thing. We've issued a warrant for your arrest, and you need to pay this now. And I said to the person on the other end of the phone, I said, I am so glad you called. I know that I owe money to the IRS. I don't, but I know that I owe money to the IRS, and I've been waiting on hold for hours on other days trying to get a hold of you. So I'm very glad that you called. And then I said this, and since you have me and you know that I owe money, who am I? What's my social security number? Well, they don't have any idea what extension phone picked up. It's a business phone. It's not a personal phone. They swore at me and hung up. So some of those common sense things, as you're aware of how some of these tactics work, and they're ever changing. So don't be afraid to visit some of these resources on the websites that I give you once in a while, and just stay familiar with what the latest thing out there. Talk to your friends. If you're out playing cards, if you're out having social times at churches or wherever, talk to your friends. What's going on? Have you experienced any scam phone calls lately? What are they trying to do? Stay alert, stay vigilant, and remove the shame part of it. That'll be the big part. Any questions before we conclude here? Grant.
Sure. I don't like to talk people's back. Be as quick as I can. My mother-in-law died. The kids went into the bank and they said, we want to have all of her accounts closed and we'll take the money. Legitimate request. The person at the bank came to an account that said Ruth and Graham and Colleen. And it happened to be a savings account that I had set up to pay the taxes. The person in the bank said, oh, Ruth, cleaned it out, closed it. 2 days later, I went in to pay the taxes. You closed that account. No, I didn't. But it turned out that my family members gave me the money back. But the key thing is that the person at the bank wasn't experienced enough to know that quite often you put two names in an account. And that's what we were doing. So he mentioned family members. He was completely innocent. But if I hadn't gone to take the money out for taxes, I'd have never known it for 6 months, a year.
Conversations with your bankers. If you're not sure what's going to happen with your bank accounts, if you're thinking about end of life issues and situations, have conversations with your banker. What happens when mom dies? What happens when these situations? How are you gonna, as our bank, how are you gonna approach these situations? What do we need to do to be as prepared and as ready as possible, so that even if it's a well-intentioned family member, doesn't come along and take funds that maybe eventually would be rightly theirs, but might create some tension and some problems in the meantime, not handled correctly. So it's a great work. You have a question or comment?
A real distant relative of mine passed away quite a while ago, several months ago, maybe a year. And my sister the other day got an email saying it was her birthday. They wanted her to help her celebrate her birthday or something. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that had to have been a scam of some kind.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
And a classmate of mine passed away too. And people have been getting, other classmates have been getting emails from her supposedly.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that the spammers can do is they can just about mimic any kind of an email. They can almost fake an email address. They can also spoof your caller ID now. We have spam calls that come, and if you look on your caller ID, sometimes it'll show a 605 area code, which is South Dakota. Oh, that's local to us. Sometimes even a local exchange. So you have to be very, very careful. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't answer my cell phone if it's a number that is not in my address, somebody that I don't know. If they want to talk to me, they'll leave a voicemail. So my doctor, my eye doctor, you know, whatever, optometrist or dentist, I don't have their numbers in my phone book, but they never hesitate to leave a message. Hi, Ryan, we're just calling to confirm your appointment on Tuesday. It's a legitimate thing. And if they don't leave a message, it must not have been important. So the other thing that I would ask you to do too is keep your voicemail box cleaned out. Sometimes as a bank, when I'm calling my customers and I would leave a message, the most frustrating response I get is the voicemail box is full and no message can be left at this time. Could you please delete the voicemails out of your voicemail box? That would be great. And if you're not sure, ask a family member, a friend, or somebody who can help you how to do that. So
I get your voicemail has not been set up yet.
it's not even been set up yet. Absolutely.
I think I know the answer to this, but what about like you're at the fair or a mall and there's a free drawing, you need to fill out cards and stick them in a little thing.
What are you putting on there?
Yeah.
That's my question. What are you putting on there? I can tell you, I can go online and find your address. So putting your name and address on there, probably not a big deal. You know, I can, if you write me a check, I can get your name and address. You write me a check and get your account number too. So just some of those things in and of themselves can be fairly harmless. If they want your social, yeah, I wouldn't put that on there. If they want beyond name, address, and maybe phone number, that's probably as far as I would go. If you want to get a hold of me, because I've won $1 million at the South Dakota State Fair for a drawing that looked like it was offering a free turkey. You know, so yeah. A good common sense judgment. Decide up front how much information you're sharing and on what circumstances. I have never been offended by a customer who tells me I'm hesitant to share that information. I always tell them, thank you. I appreciate your concern and you're being very careful. We can verify you some other ways.
I think when I was younger, I got I don't know if it was a phone call or if it was something you sign up for, but somehow I signed my mother up for like free magazines. And I mean, she didn't pay anything. She ended up getting, but they got information. But then she got magazines forever and couldn't get them to stuff.
Oh.
But they got information because you had to sign up so many people. It was like a pyramid scheme kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
I never, I don't give out my cell phone number because I just use it for traveling and for long distance because I don't have long distance on my phone. But I get people text me and it whistles and I know there's a text, you know, but I don't answer those either. And I just check to see who it is. It's always unknown. So I don't
Very wise to just
know.
delete them and get them out of your inbox so that they disappear.
They text me, I don't know. I mean, maybe it is, maybe some of them are something I would like to know.
Well, and sometimes we forget we become overly dependent on technology. If it's somebody who really knows you and really needs to get a hold of you, they probably will find you, even if you don't respond to the text. You know what I'm saying? They know where you live. They know they're going to see you at church. They're going to see you at work. They're going to see you at home. They're going to see you at Thanksgiving or whatever. And they'll find ways to get a hold of you. So it's okay to not respond to this.
There are no online questions.
All right. Thanks to each of you for your time and for coming. I appreciated the opportunity to share with you. Your bank has a lot of information that can help you on this too. So please contact your bank if you have any questions as well. And look for those who are willing to help you. Okay? Thank you very much.